Hey everybody, Steve Burns here. So I've been getting questions about drawing shadows when creating objects in perspective. All right, so I'm gonna show you the concept in a couple different ways. One where a student actually created a city, and here's one using our simplified perspective chair. Now, because we're drawing perspective and we're modifying the lighting on the furniture in perspective, we're going to keep the shadows in perspective as well. Let's go ahead and accentuate this a little bit better so it's a little bit clearer as to what we're trying to do. So I'm going to go to here's my layer group with all my vector components for this particular chair. This is the backing for the chair. So I'm going to double click it, and we're going to go and just bring this down a little richer, a little darker, so it becomes a lot clearer as to what we're doing. All right, so I got 76 for RGB here, so I'm gonna go also to the front facing. Let's go down here and find the front of that. Go ahead and click that off and on. Double click it, and we're gonna get down to close to 76, 75, 76 there. That's good enough. All right, let's go to the front legs. Click them off and on, and the rear leg as well. I'm gonna go drag it on down to close to 76. There we go. Let's go to the front legs here. Double click it and go to 70. That's good enough. All right. One more. That's probably up to the top somewhere. Let's see where she is. Okay, I'm going to have to just look at every vertical leg in this case. And let's see, where did we put it? So that's the front one. And this one there to the side. Okay, so that one is colored incorrectly. So bring it on down and go to 76 approximately. There we go. All right, so there's the front facing. So we're looking at the shading. It's going to be in the direction or off of the face of the darker side of my chair. All right, so let's create the shading. We're gonna utilize perspective, right? So basically, let's keep it simple. Let's go here to my rectangular selection tool, and I'm going to make a whole nother layer beneath my layer chair group. Okay, so everything here is in a group. I'm going to put the shadow underneath that group. So hold the Command or Control key and click on the new layer icon. That places the layer underneath it. Now, just to simplify this, I'm going to just make a long shape just like so and fill it with the foreground color. The foreground color is black, so Alt or Option Delete or fill or backspace will fill that with black. All right, now you see my perspective grid here. Now the perspective grid that I really want to follow in this particular case is going to be the green lines, right? So if I go up to my perspective, drop down that group, and let's see which one, that's the green lines I'm interested in. I'm going to turn off the red lines. Command D to turn off my my selection. Now let's go modify this one. Hit my V key, I'm going to move it in place, and I'm going to start modifying this. Hit the Command T, hold the Alt key, click my rotation point at the very end or the base of the leg so it rotates in the right direction. So we're just getting it approximately in the right direction. Now I want to follow my perspective lines here, right? So I'm going to pull this back so it's easier for you to see. And now let's pull this forward. Now, edit menu, transform, what? Distort, right? Okay, so now if I pull this out off frame, because the chair is closer to the frame, and make sure that the shadow matches my perspective. Now, remember, it's coming off of the leg of the chair. So that means we're going to have to pull this back to connect with that edge of the chair. Is that making sense? So here, take this edge, connect to the back end. Doesn't really matter, but just to make this more obvious, it's conforming to the edge of the leg of the chair because it's falling, all the shading is falling off the shaded area of the back of the chair. Now, following perspective, which it looks like I'm doing. Okay. Now, That's that front leg of the chair. I'm going to hit the enter key to commit my changes. All right. Take a look at it. So you see where we're going with this one? So we're going to do the same thing for everything. Now, we're also going to have another one coming right off the edge of this chair. And I could just modify that shadow. So I can also do this. Go to my polygonal lasso tool. Go to the edge of the chair following perspective. Right? And just fill that in, right? So I'm going to fill that in with the foreground color, Alt Option, delete or backspace. There we are. Hit delete. Okay. So rear edge, front edge. What about this chair right over here? Same thing. Go over here and create a little rectangular tool. Fill that in with my foreground color, which is black. I'm going to just deselect it. Command T for transformation. Now what I did was I put it inside the same layer. I don't want to actually do that. So let me hit the escape key, select it, Command X to cut it out, Command V to paste it. There we go. Hit the V key, bring it over by the chair, Command T, Alt, click to jump the rotation point. So what I'm doing is I'm putting that rotation point there, but with an Alt click while it's in free transform. I'm just going to just put it basically in the direction I want it to go. Okay. And follow my perspective grid. So Command or Control key automatically puts me in the transform or the distort command. So this is going from the right from the edge right here. Let's bring this on over. We're gonna match. There we go. Something like this. Bring it down and match the edge of the chair and make sure this side matches perspective. Bring it up a little more there. I think that looks good. Okay. So you see where we're going? So that's the darker side of the chair. It's going to set off the shadow. Now, of course, we have the rear chair. I'm going to duplicate this layer. Command J. For the smaller one, Command T. In fact, it helps if I actually just put it completely horizontal and then hit Command T. So I can select it this way. Now, we're assuming that, let's go ahead and turn on our top grid again. There we go. So we're assuming that the rear, this leg comes up, joins right about there. And again, it's going to follow perspective. And to help me out here, I'm going to hit Command T because I lose the transformation box over the exact shape of my, or better yet, here, we'll make it a lot easier. Let's do this. Just make a new square. Okay. All right. So make a new square, fill it with our black. Just start fresh. Deselect. Go to my V key to move. Let's get in close. Looking at this perspective line, it's going to be right about in here somewhere. Command T. And it looks like I dropped it in that same box again. Hate making that mistake. That's all right. Hit the M key. It's not a mistake. It's just an organizational issue. And Command V, put it back in there. All right, so let's go ahead and bring it back. Following where that leg is probably going to follow there. Command T, Alt, click it here. Okay, so that leg is going to be approximately in there somewhere. Okay. Hold the Command or Control key for distort. And follow perspective to there. Follow it all the way down. And I'm thinking it's going to be a thinner leg back there, like so. Follow perspective, matching it to the green lines. Okay. There. All right, so this one here, I moved it off a little bit, by the way. We pull it back, match it up. So that's what you're getting. Oops. Accident there. All right. So if we see the bottom of the chair, it's probably going to connect right over in here. Pretty simple. We can even go to our polygonal lasso tool. And let's say the light's coming down, the bottom of the chair is hitting right about there. Say right about here. Again, it follows perspective. Okay, so I'm going to put this in a new layer. In fact, we can select all of these layers for the shadow, Command G for the group, so that everything is going to be inside that group. Make a new layer right above here. And looking at the lighting, it's coming from a distance, so drag it. Remember, following perspective. We're not going to see the rest of this anyway, so we just do it from here. Okay, or this, hit the V key. We can move this back to here if we need to. Redo it again. We want it to here, a little further up front. Again, following that red perspective all the way across, following perspective, it's going to be within that shadow. Okay. There we go. Oops. All right. So we want to give the shading a little bit of a diffusion. I'm going to select all of the layers in this group. Right click, merge layers. Now we've got them all in one layer. Let's give this a smart object. You'll see why in a moment. Filter blur. Let's go to Gaussian blur. All right. And blur that just a little bit. Blur it quite a bit there. Okay. I want to pull this shadow out, Command T, or better yet, here, let's go to Edit, Transform, and let's go to Warp. There we go. We're going to pull it out because I've noticed a little bit of an edge to this there. Keeping our perspective, there it is. Now it's coming directly off the edge of our frame. Now, the reason I wanted a smart object is because I want to actually create a gradient on this mask. I want to block out the effect of the edge softening when it's closer to the legs, and as it gets further out, it's going to be softer, just like real shadows work. So the shadows are close to your subject, they're going to be sharper, harder edge. As you get further away from the subject, they become softer. So if I target the mask for the Gaussian blur, now it's a smart object. I'm going to turn this off and on, off and on. It's a smart object, so it's non-destructive. So I can target the mask for the Gaussian blur. Remember, adding black will give no effect of the Gaussian blur. Adding white will give more of effect of the Gaussian blur. So I'm gonna go to the gradient, and I want to go black to white. It's my foreground and background color. Foreground and background. Now in my gradient tool, hitting the G key for gradient, or number 6 tool down the right hand side, look in your options bar. Make sure that you have the very first icon targeted. So you're going from black to white. So if I follow my perspective, grab it here, drag it following perspective in this direction, and see what just happened? I'm blurring out this back end. Hit the Alt Option key, click on it. That's what I've created. Created a gradient where the black areas will block out the effect. The light areas will allow the Gaussian blur. I can't even talk today. The Gaussian blur effect to actually work. And let's go ahead and click it again, and there's your effect as it gets further away. Now we can adjust this, but we'll talk more about that in later videos. Okay, so there you are. So how about if we take a look at something for an architecture that was built? I'm going to use a student's work next for this.